to the Token and Hobbs Show on the Roads to Liberty Network.
What's up, everybody? It's been a while. This is the Token and Hobbs Show live on Tuesday night. I am your host, Token. I'm joined with my friend in arms over there, Mr. Justin Hobbs. What's up, man? It's been a while. We've been on kind of a hiatus for the last few weeks.
Yeah, I know. It's had a lot of life changes on my end as far as employment and everything goes.
Yeah, this is the busiest part of the year for me. So I've been exhausted working late hours at work. You've switched jobs. So sorry, everybody, that we haven't been doing this on a regular again. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to keep it on Tuesday nights forever because Mr. Hobbs over there just has to go back to school, get an education, and better himself. He doesn't have his priorities straight.
I know.
He's got to come on here and talk to his old pal Token about Liberty and InfoWars and Google and Iran and all that fun stuff that we're going to be covering here today. But before we get to that, I want to cover a few bases. One, our good friend and founder, Ben Backus, is in the process of redoing the website. So go check that out, roads2liberty.com. He's doing a fantastic job. You can go there and see all our back episodes and all those fancy memes that we've been putting up. So go check that out. It's really cool. Also, we have a new Facebook group that just went live a few days ago called the Roadkill Cafe. This is the Facebook group directly linked to the Roads to Liberty podcast. It's really cool. We're almost up to 300 members now. We want to keep that number growing. All right, so get in there, be part of the conversations, post something funny, don't invite anybody lame. That's our only rule. And don't report anything, because snitches get stitches, and I'm going to give you some stitches if you go around reporting things.
Yep.
And that's me being nice. Hobbs does worse to people.
Yeah.
Also, Ben's going to make an announcement video, so I'm going to hold off on that for a bit. But yeah, let's get into our topics now. Now let's see what's first on the docket. Well, there's a kerfuffle going on in Oregon right now. Apparently, Senate Republicans in the state of Oregon have run away from the Capitol. Nobody knows where they are. They're hiding out in holes in the ground and in secret hideaways with militia guarding them, because they don't want to vote on a cap and trade deal that'll probably ruin a good portion of the state and their constituents. So, so what you have anything to say about this? This is a very, very strange deal that's going on in Oregon right now, and you're the one that brought this to my attention.
Yeah, so apparently the Democrats have a super majority in the Oregon state legislature, which means that basically anything that comes up for a vote, if they want it, it gets passed. And since they have a very hard party line Democrat governor, it's going to be guaranteed to go into law. And then vice versa, the other way, anything the Republicans want is going to get voted down or vetoed if it should somehow pass the legislature in, some strange twist of fate. So this cap and trade deal, Wikipedia's nonsense description of it, I don't have it up in front of me. I guess I should have pulled it up. But the Wikipedia's nonsense description of what a cap and trade bill or cap and trade law is something like they say it's a market-based approach to managing carbon emissions, and then just in the next line they're like, a central governing authority, usually a government agency, sets the amount of carbon emissions that an entity is allowed to emit, and then puts a tax on anything over that. So market-based approach to carbon emissions, central authority. These two things don't really mix. So
Something tells me that they don't understand what a market solution is. But
What-
anyway, go ahead.
Whatever moron wrote it on Wikipedia, I guess, is the person to blame for that. So, anyways, Democrats wanted to pass this cap and trade bill, and the Republicans didn't want to pass it, but they knew that if they voted on it, they were going to, just their vote doesn't matter at all. And their constituencies, a large number of which are rural and suburban, like forestry industry, mining industry, things that are not very environmentally friendly, would be absolutely devastated by a cap and trade bill. So the Republican constituents are saying, hey, y'all need to stop this. And the Republicans are saying, we can't stop it. They're going to pass it. So the only option that they had was to pull what the Democrats did a few years ago in Wisconsin, and that was just to not show up to work, because if the 11 or 12 Republican senators don't show up to work, then the Oregon State legislature doesn't have enough members to make a quorum, which means they can't conduct business. And so they basically fled the state to Idaho and are hiding out in a neighboring state. So then the congressional Democrats in Oregon decided that in order to make the Republicans come to work to pass this cap and trade bill, they petitioned the governor to authorize the Oregon State Patrol to go get them. And the governor honored that petition and authorized the State Patrol to go get them. And one of the Oregon legislators, the absolute mad lad, got on TV says, here's my response: send bachelors and come heavily armed, because I will not be a political prisoner in the state of Oregon. And I'm just like, oh yeah, baby.
Yeah. See, here's the crazy thing about it. It's essentially what the Senate Democrats in Oregon and the governor have decided to do is to go out and forcefully kidnap Senate Republicans and, if need be, drag them back to the Capitol in handcuffs so that they'll have enough people there so they can pass their legislation. Now, some backstory to this. Apparently, Republicans earlier in the year had agreed not to walk out in the Senate in exchange for having a bigger role in the drafting of this legislation.
Yeah.
Like they would get some amendments put into it to blunt the trauma that it would cause. Now, to make it less crappy.
Yeah, make it less eco crazy.
It's like let's scale this back a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's not destroy everybody's jobs. I mean, I know your intent, and I know you're just hell bent on destroying as many jobs as you possibly can, because you're eco terrorists or whatever. That's essentially what they are. But let's temper that back a little bit. And apparently, their attempts at amendments have been stonewalled, which is what led to this walkout, which is what led to the governor sending armed police officers searching for Republican senators to drag them back to the Capitol so they can get their precious cap and trade bill passed, which, by the way, would do absolutely nothing. Oregon's contributions to greenhouse gases is negligible. It's almost nothing. So if they pass this bill, the possibility of destroying local jobs and raising gas prices, which harm the lower income individuals most in situations like this. So they'll do a lot of harm to their economy, but the actual good they'll do to the environment is next to nothing.
Yeah, and it's not just raising gas prices either. It's going to be raising the costs of everything, because literally everything hinges on the price of fuel. But it's also not just fuel either. It's also things like power plants and how much carbon your building emits, and just a whole slew. It's a cap and trade bill on carbon emissions. It doesn't matter if it's from a vehicle or a building or a power plant or whatever it's from. They want to drive up the price of everything, and you're absolutely right when you say that this mostly affects lower income people, because lower income people are the ones that have, typically a longer commute or a less fuel efficient vehicle, or they have, smaller businesses that may have old infrastructure, and they've got these razor thin profit margins to begin with. This is more than just a gas price killing bill. These are job killing bills. This is infrastructure killing bills. It's absolute insanity. And me, Mr. Joe Schmo out in the Midwest with no fancy economics degree or anything, even I can see that. So the fact that they don't see it, it's either willful ignorance or just abject stupidity.
Well, see, it's not that they don't see it. And in my reading about this story, it's very clear that they understand what's going on. From what I've seen, they haven't even tried to seriously dispute the fact that this is going to kill jobs and raise prices. What they're arguing is that we need to do this so we can, I don't know, inspire other states to follow our lead. Is essentially the justification for killing off their local economy that they're giving. And the thing about it is, apparently, this is very popular in the major urban centers, which is not surprising. Yeah, I know. This is not surprising. This is the divide that is going on in this country. It's gone on all over the world since the beginning of history, the difference between urban and rural populations. This is why the Electoral College exists, so that both sides can have a fair representation in government, because the interests that both sides have are completely different from one another. Urbanites have completely different interests than people who live in rural parts of the country, which is why you can't allow rural districts or urban districts to completely run roughshod over the other. But yeah, this bill is apparently very, very popular when it comes to urban centers, because they're not the ones that are going to be losing jobs as a result of this. Of course they're not. And it's Republicans from rural districts in Oregon, they're the ones walking out. People from urban districts who represent urban centers, they're all for it. They're all for it. But it's the Republicans that are out in the country, the rubes, as they'll be called by the Democrats.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to be feeling the biggest effects of this bill, and that's why they're walking out. And the fact that the governor and Senate Democrats, not only are they going to just send armed guards to get them, but they're going to implement a $500 fine for each day that they're not there in the Senate. Now, there is some good news to report. Apparently, the Senate Democrats have come to the realization that they do not have the votes to actually pass this bill. Now, whether that's because they just didn't have the votes to begin with, or because of the huge backlash that they've gotten that some Democrats changed their minds, I don't know. But apparently, as of right now, they don't have the votes to do it, and the standoff might be coming to a close soon.
There's also the militia elements to contend with as well.
See, this I haven't read much about, so why don't you fill me in a little bit?
Well, this is something that's kind of new to me, too. I only saw a couple of snippets, but apparently the 3%ers and the Oath Keepers have kind of mobilized, and they shut down the Capitol building yesterday because of a militia threat, which didn't exist because there were no... The militia said that they would protect any of the Republican senators if they were accosted by the state patrol. And they shut down the state capitol, which doesn't make any sense because there were no Republican senators at the state capitol, so there was no militia threat at the state capitol. So apparently these militia guys are mobilizing on or around the Oregon-Idaho border in order to basically stop the Oregon State Patrol from enforcing this mandate to go and get them.
It's pretty ridiculous. It takes armed citizens in order to stop state police from kidnapping U.S. State senators and dragging them back to the Capitol.
There's another element to it as well. If you'll remember, a couple of years ago, that standoff in the Malheur Wildlife Preserve, where that one Oathkeeper guy, Lavoy Finicum, got gunned down. You remember that, by the FBI?
Yes.
Yeah, so that happened in Oregon. That was signed off on by current Governor Kate Brown. So the three percenters, and the Oath Keepers in Oregon are still very sore about that. So
I can imagine.
Yeah, any opportunity they can get to kind of flex on the government in Oregon, they're going to take it. And with that one senator saying what he did about send bachelors and come heavily armed, and the fact that tensions were running high with the militia to begin with, they're not fucking around.
No, I should hope not. I mean, here's the thing about it. I've been reading into this situation and seeing the political posturing from the Democrats in Oregon. It's what you basically expect. Oh, they don't believe in democracy. My heart is broken. We have an obligation to represent our constituents in the Senate. And if you can't be here, you are failing democracy. It's a funny thing about it is that apparently a while back, the same exact situation had come up, but the other way around. And it was Oregon Senate Democrats that walked out in protest of a redistricting plan that the Republicans had. And the very governor who wants to send state patrol to round up these state Republicans, that very governor supported it at the time. So this is the kind of hypocrisy that you come to expect from government, but it's just really laughable in this case. Because there's really no difference between walking on the job and denying a quorum necessary to conduct business and filibustering. There's no difference at all between the two. There really isn't. You're using what limited power opposition and minority parties have to stop a bill that you absolutely do not want passed. And they're taking advantage. They're taking advantage. You need a quorum to pass law, and they're saying, "Yeah, we're going to deny you that." So you know what? You guys all, the Democrats want to be butthurt about that. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's get to some comments. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, if you want to be a part of the show, you can tune in live. We're doing this on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Central. That is subject to change in the future, but right now that's the time we're going to be going for. We do these live on Facebook, and you can be a part of the conversation there if you want. Charles Gandor, I'm going to say Gondor because that's kind of badass, says the government thinks they control the market. So that's why they have that ludicrous definition. Yeah, that makes sense. The government thinks they control a lot of things, so that makes some sense to me. Scoot Sharp says, can they not pull in others to fill their place? No, because these are elected senators. You can't just pull in some Joe Schmo off the street and say they're a senator and you can have a quorum with them. That's not how that works.
You'd have to have a recall election, and considering that these Senate Republicans are acting on behalf of their constituents to begin with, the chances of those senators being recalled and replaced with people who would be more cooperative and be like slim to none in those districts.
Oh yeah, I'm betting that a lot of these guys are freaking gangsters in their districts right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably running high on popularity right where they're from. I mean, I saw that there was a GoFundMe page opened up to pay for the $500 fines that these senators are having, and within 24 hours there were like $30,000 in that GoFundMe. So they're probably okay.
The market provides.
Market provides. Patrick Burkle says America runs on cow farts. Yes, but we can't let that continue though. That's going to destroy America. We got to ban cow farts. That's the next step in our Green New Deal. Brent Camacho, that can't be his real last name. Camacho, come on, man. What is this shit about? Y'all in that NCAT gang? But I don't know what you're trying to say there, so I'm just going to move on. And Joshua Peterson says, glad you're all here to save the country. Well, you're welcome, sir. We are glad we're here to save the country, too.
And we're glad that you're listening and paying attention.
We're glad that you're listening to the Road to Liberty podcast, Saviors of America. Is there anything else about this story you wanted to go over? I just wanted to say once more before we move on. Saying to send bachelors and make them heavily armed, that was so bad. That's badass. I hope he means it because, send bachelors from The Bachelor and have them come and take me because I wouldn't mind shooting a few of them. Okay. What else do we got here? Let's skip Iran from now and go to your favorite subject. So there's this obscure guy on the internet known as Alex Jones. I don't know if you guys have heard about him, but he's this big conspiracy theorist dude and sponsor of Male Vitality or whatever. And he's recently got in a lot of trouble. He's being sued by the families of Sandy Hook for, I guess, saying that Sandy Hook was a red flag or a false flag. He's being sued for something, and they subpoenaed his emails. Mm-hmm. And so they got a hold of his emails, and it turns out someone had sent him child porn in his trash folder or his spam folder. And this apparently is just the worst thing in the world. Why don't you explain why this is the worst thing in the world, Hobbs?
Okay, so going back in time a little bit, the Sandy Hook shooting took place in 2012. It took place 7 years ago, and there were a lot of little red flags and things, and the internet being what the internet is, a lot of people took it, took it off into autism land and decided that it was a false flag or a psyop or, it never happened or anything like that. And Alex Jones, being, Mr. Conspiracy Theory, kind of collated all these little conspiracy theories together and started, taking them apart one by one. Does this one have any basis? Does this one have any basis? And started, just looking through everything more or less. And he had on a guest, the guy, his name was Wolfgang Helbig, and he was a former police officer and a former like a school security consultant, and he threw out all this crap, like basically like the moon landing is fake type shit, where it's like, oh, Sandy Hook, it never happened, nobody died, blah blah blah. So Alex quickly shot that one down, and then everything kind of moved on. Fast forward from 2012 to 2016, Donald Trump gets elected, and then he gets sued by the Sandy Hook families for apparently profiting off of the death and the conspiracy theories surrounding the school shooting. And that was the reason that the guy got sued. Well, it wasn't because he said it was fake. It wasn't for a defamation or anything like that. He got sued because apparently the Sandy Hook families, or rather the lawyers using the Sandy Hook families to, prop up their own profile or whatever, are saying that he profited off of this tragic event. And so they basically wanted to, get theirs or whatever. It's just a way to take down Alex Jones. Again, he didn't get sued until after Donald Trump got elected president. And everybody pretty much knows that Alex Jones had a very big hand in getting Trump elected president. So 4 years after the fact, Donald Trump gets president, Alex Jones gets sued. And so the lawyers are saying that, he talks about Sandy Hook all the time. He talks about Sandy Hook all of the time. So during discovery, and I'm really having to kind of pull this all together from memory. So during Discovery, they did an analytics of Infowars, all of their broadcasts, all of the print stories on Infowars.com and Newswars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. They did collated all of the stories, and they found out that the total airtime between 2012 when it happened and now was 0.028% of Alex Jones's total time was devoted to Sandy Hook. Well, you can't make a huge profit off of 0.028%. So then the lawyers subpoenaed or requested to subpoena all of Alex Jones's emails from the Sandy Hook shooting to the present day. That total came out to 9.6 million emails. So Jones's lawyer, a guy named Norm Pattis up in Connecticut, said, hey, we got to, this is 9.6 million emails. We're not going to waste your time. Give us a little bit of time to sift through these for relevancy, because we don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste the court's time. We don't want to waste the taxpayers' money. And we don't want the possibility of private information of people who have, emailed us to possibly get leaked out anywhere. Well, the opposition lawyer accused them of obstruction, and the judge said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take all Alex's emails and we're going to put a simple keyword search on them, things like, Sandy Hook, false flag, the name of the shooter, whatever his name was, I don't remember. And
There's probably still a lot of emails, I would imagine.
Over 57,000. So what they did was, okay, we did this simple keyword search, collected 57,000 emails that triggered the keyword search, and they shipped them off to a third-party data investigator or something in California to go through these emails at Alex Jones's expense. He offered to pay for that. So while this was going on, Alex on one of his broadcasts told his lawyer, he's like, the fact that they're just like wanting these emails so bad tells me that there might be something in there that they know is in there. And his lawyer's like, shut up, Alex, you're being a conspiracy theorist. Well, within a couple of days of sending these 57,000 emails, they come up with child porn links and images buried in the metadata of, I think, 14 or 17 of these emails out of 57,000 had possible links to child porn in them.
Well, out of the 57,000, which were among the 9 million.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So this third-party data investigator sent those emails to the FBI. The FBI went through them and was like, yeah, these were spam emails sent from like bot accounts, and they had veiled threats in them. And the child porn was sent to Alex, not the other way around. And combing through the metadata, we discovered that nobody at Infowars actually clicked on any of these links or went to any of these links at all. So Alex Jones and the Infowars staff are completely exonerated of any wrongdoing whatsoever. Done. Awesome. No problems at all. However, there's always a however.
Here's the thing about it. Let me cut you off there real quick. I remember when this story dropped, because I saw it pop up on my Facebook all over the place. I'm like, what is this? And it's just like Alex Jones linked with child porn is what I'm seeing all over the place. It's it's like all over the place in my newsfeed everywhere. It's like Alex Jones, child porn, Alex Jones, child porn. It would led me to believe, oh my God, Alex Jones was looking at and sending child porn to people. I'm like, my God.
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with this dude? It turns out all of that was completely misleading. But you had to actually dig into the articles to find that out. Anybody just scrolling past, taking the quick glances, people do most of the time. That's the impression that they're given.
Yep. And the crazy thing about it is that the headlines all read, Alex Jones sends child porn to Sandy Hook families. And then you get down in the article and it says, okay, well, his lawyer sent a hard drive containing emails that people had sent to Alex that had links to child porn in them. So technically, with 6 degrees of separation, yes, Alex Jones sent child porn to the Sandy Hook families, but that is a completely misleading article headline. And since a lot of these larger media outlets like the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal have their articles behind a paywall, and most people are not subscribed to those outlets, all they're able to read is Alex Jones sends child porn to Sandy Hook families. Would you like to subscribe to this service for $5 a month or whatever? And they don't get down, 6 paragraphs burying the lead to figure out that, okay, yeah, Alex Jones didn't actually send child porn to the Sandy Hook families. This headline is bullshit.
See, I know the question we're going to get here. Why are we defending Alex? Well, I know why you're defending Alex Jones, because you like his show.
He's entertaining.
He is an entertaining dude, too. The most entertaining Joe Rogan podcast I ever listened to was that 3-hour show he did with Alex Jones, where he's talking about fucking space cells and shit, which come out to you when you take LSD. It was absolutely nuts. But I don't listen to Alex Jones. I don't listen to his show. I don't watch his videos. That's not my thing. I don't get into the weeds of conspiracy theories. And if you like that kind of stuff, good on you. I don't begrudge you your taste in entertainment. But there's a reason. There's a reason we come out and point this kind of stuff out and come to the defense of people like Alex Jones. The reason is that Alex Jones has a right to speak, and people should not be misrepresented on purpose with misleading articles and misleading claims, stuff that sticks with you, even when you're exonerated. Because look, all these people that just saw Alex Jones child porn, are they? You don't know if they're going to get the follow-up story that says, hey, this was all nonsense. It's just somebody sent him spam, and he gave a bulk of how many thousands of emails to a judge, and turns out they found out that this stuff was embedded in some spam that had been sent to him, not the other way around.
Right.
That's the thing about it. It's so easy to smear somebody unfairly and unjustly. And this is the kind of thing we see a lot today, man. How many big media platforms have completely banned him? For this kind of stuff. They're like, oh, Alex Jones, we need to ban him for saying Sandy Hook was the false flag or something. Like, seriously, dude. It's complete nonsense. The only reason you ban him is because you don't like him, and you're going to come up with any excuse you can to get him off your platforms. And lo and behold, a new excuse to just shown up at it completely misleading and wrong. But how many people are going to dig through it and find out how misleading and wrong that is?
And like I said earlier, with a lot of these articles from these big, supposedly reputable sites like the Washington Post and New York Times and Wall Street Journal being behind a paywall, how many people actually can dig into the article and find out the truth?
Well, this goes into the heart of things. It's a censorship issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just Alex Jones, and it won't stop with more fringe right-wing characters getting banned and censored on social media. Because really, it's been going on a long time, and it's going to continue to go. Social media, I remember when in places like YouTube and Facebook just started, social media was just a place that anybody could get on and express whatever wacky opinion they wanted to express. They could say whatever crazy thing they wanted. And it's up to me and you to decide what makes sense and what doesn't, to decide what is true what isn't, what we believe and what we don't believe.
Right.
That what social media companies like Google, like Facebook, like Twitter have done, have taken that agency out of the hands of their users because they do not trust us to come up with our own opinions and make up our own minds. Because you know what? If they allow us to do that, we might come up with the wrong opinion. We may come to the wrong conclusion, the conclusion that they don't want us to come to. And in order to prevent that from happening, they have to silence voices that go contrary to the narrative that they are trying to push. It's not going to end with Alex Jones, because you know what? More and more voices are going to pop up on social media. More and more people are going to speak truth to power and tell tell narratives that fly in the face of the ones that these social media platforms want to push. And they're just going to have to keep getting harsher and harsher with their censorship. And we're not talking about government intervention here to stop this. We're just talking about what is right for these companies to do. You know, what should they do? What should Facebook and YouTube, how should they operate? And I believe they should operate in a manner that allows free discussion, no matter where that discussion may go. Open and free discussion. And you know what? If I don't like somebody on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, give me the option to block them, and I'll do that. All right? Put that agency in my hands. Give me the ultimate decision-making power on who I see on these platforms. Don't take that power out of my hands. I want to decide who I see and who I don't see.
Yep. And if you don't give us that agency to allow us to see and to hear the opinions that we want to see and hear, and to come up with our own opinions ourselves, if you don't want to give us that, we will find someone who does.
Yep. And that's why Lords of Liberty, well, I just opened a Minds account recently. You know, for everybody listening, we're on Minds now. So if you're on Minds, get on that, subscribe to us. We need subscribers. But yeah, I'm getting very sick and tired of these big social media platforms thinking they know better than I do. You know, thinking that they get to decide what content I get to consume instead of letting me make that decision. Like
Exactly.
You know, and I don't care how radical, how crazy some of these people are. You know what? I still should have the decision-making power to decide whether or not I consume that content. You know, these big companies shouldn't be making that decision for me. All right, let's move on a bit to another topic that's been in the news lately. So, Iran. Let's talk about Iran for a little bit. Iran has been in the news lately because there was a Japanese tanker that was bombed in the Persian Gulf. And then, not too long after that, a U.S. spy drone was shot down over, well, what we say were international waters, and the Iranians say was Iranian airspace. So, just shot down close to Iran. I think that'd be fair to say. So Donald Trump made the decision. He was the decision maker, and he decided that we were going to bomb Iran. And he set the planes in the air. They were on their way, and he called them off. He decided, apparently what happened was he asked one of his generals, how many people will die in this attack? And the general responded, about 156. So he's like, oh, that's too many. I'm going to call it off. And he did. So there's two ways to look at this story. One is an encouraging way, a positive way to look at this. And the other one is not so encouraging. So let's start with the positive first. The positive to take away. Donald Trump did not actually bomb Iran. Good. Awesome. Very good. That is great. Considering the alternative, that is awesome. He didn't actually bomb Iran. That's a good thing about this. He could have, He could have listened to his warmongers advisors, but he didn't. He decided to make the decision to not bomb a foreign country, which you know what, Donald Trump reacts to positive reinforcement. So I'm going to give it here. Good on you, Trump, for not bombing Iran. Thank you. Hopefully he listens to the show. Probably not. If he listens to the show, he'll tweet about it, and we'll get 1 million subscribers the next day. So, come on, Donald Trump. Listen to the show.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah, this is a positive. That's a positive thing about it, right? We didn't go to war with Iran. Awesome.
Yep.
That's great. Now, the negative part about this was he did actually order a strike on Iran. And apparently he ordered that strike without asking what the casualties might be. Like, he just, go get them. Oh, whoa, wait a minute. How many people are that going to kill? Oh, almost 200? Oh, maybe that's not a good idea. Let's bring them back.
Yeah.
I mean, that is concerning to me. Like, you would think that he would have asked that question before sending the bombers.
Right.
You know, like, that's kind of important information, right? That's something that you want to know before you decide to bomb a foreign country.
Right. Especially without a declaration of war. But I'm hearing some conflicting reports that he didn't actually scramble the bombers himself. He didn't give that order. That was just one of those, SOP contingency maneuvers. It's like foreign country shoots down a piece of our equipment, immediately scramble the bombers, and then wait for authorization. And then I guess, and it really is like, who do you believe? Do you believe Trump and those loyal to him, or do you believe the media? Do you believe the people in the Pentagon who are just foaming at the mouth for a war? I don't know at this point. It could be that Trump ordered the strikes and then called them off at the last minute, and he's saying that he didn't actually order the strikes in order to save face. It could be that elements within the Pentagon that are just hot and bothered about starting a shooting war kind of jumped the gun, so to speak, and had bombers in the air and had targets picked out about what. And then when it's like, okay, Mr. President, we've got the bombers in the air and they're heading towards these targets, how many people are going to die? Oh, about 150. So no, call them off. It's not worth it. No, robot. It's like,
it's just a robot. It's not worth it. Bring it back.
Exactly. So it's like, who do you believe in this instance? And I don't know, and I don't pretend to have any kind of insight into this. It really could be anybody, and for that matter, it could have been anybody that attacked those tankers in the Straits of Hormuz too.
My money's on Godzilla. It was Godzilla that did it. Has to be. He was after the fish.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. See, Donald Trump's foreign policy has been a real mixed bag, which is better than what we've had before, because like Bush and Obama was just bad. It was just all bad.
Yeah.
Donald Trump at least has been somewhat of a mixed bag, because let's look at things. All right. He's increased the drone war that Bush and Obama started. Bad. He's selling millions of dollars worth of arms to Saudi Arabia so they can continue their genocide in Yemen. Bad. He bombed Syria. Bad. He didn't invade Syria. Good. He didn't bomb Iran. Good. It's like,
he at least tried to negotiate some kind of peace with North Korea. Good.
Yeah. Tried being the operative word, but at least he made the attempt, I guess.
Yeah, and at least when you had with Bush, you knew that he was always going to be saber rattling and throwing bombs everywhere and acting like bombing other countries is synonymous with patriotism. With Obama, you knew that he was going to be blowing up shit all across the world and then denying that he was doing it and waving his Nobel Peace Prize in everybody's face like he's some kind of bringer of peace to the world.
I'm the first black president, and you can't question me.
Yeah,
before Bangladesh,
Yeah, pretty much. With those guys, at least you knew what you were getting. With Trump, it's like, Trump's anything, not just foreign policy, but his anything changes like Midwestern weather. You don't know what it's going to be 5 minutes from now, and that's kind of frustrating.
And here's my theory. I'm picturing Donald Trump in a war room somewhere. Picture one of those war rooms you see in television shows and movies, right?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, send the bombers. Let's go get these sons of bitches. And John Bolton's there, and Ben Shapiro's there, and they're like, yeah, go get them. And then Rand Paul kicks down the door and says, stop those bombers. And Donald Trump just, Rand Paul, where did you come from? And he's like, you're right, Rand Paul. You should be president right now instead of me. I will listen to you and stop the bombers. And there's John Bolton. He's pulling out his mustache. It's like, oh, so close. So close to getting that war I wanted so bad.
Let the history books note that is exactly what happened.
If I don't see that in a movie someday, I will die a very unhappy man. That's how I'm picturing this whole scenario now. But yes, back to a serious note, it has been a very mixed bag. Because let's look at things. The limited airstrike he did against Syria, not a fan. Spoke out very harshly against it at the time. It was not followed up by an attempt at regime change, which is exactly what Obama did, if you remember. He didn't go, just surgical airstrikes, blah, blah, blah. No. It was a legit attempt to change the regime of Libya, which, look how many thousands of dead Libyans we have as a result of that. Look, a country in chaos and civil war. Well, literal slave markets popping up as a result of that. Thanks, Obama. And I mean that one in all seriousness. All right? He didn't just Donald Trump, he dropped bombs on Syria. Bad move. But it could have been so much worse. If it were Hillary Clinton, I have no doubt it would have been so much worse. And with Iran, as bad as it is that he called those strikes in the first place, he called them off. He told them not to do it. And if it had been Hillary or Bush or Obama, they probably would have gone through with it.
And so much worse.
Oh my God, so much worse. Man, Hillary didn't even show any kind of remorse over that horrible decision to enact regime change in Libya. Do you remember the whole, we saw he died. Oh, yeah, that's so funny. All those dead people.
Oh my God.
I'm laughing my ass off.
A barrel of monkeys over here.
Slapping my sides at that. I got this isn't a side, but I got into it with the Democrat the other day, right? Because I was calling him out on the Democrats' foreign policy. It was like, libertarians are wrong about everything. So I go to his profile. He's got a big banner on his profile pic that says no war. It's like, we're wrong about everything, huh? I see that no war cover pic you have on your profile. Tell me, which party has been the most consistently anti-war party? Democrats, Republicans, or Libertarians? It's like, you guys haven't been in power. All right, it's very easy to be anti-war when you're not on power. Like, yeah, it's very easy to be anti-war when you're legitimately anti-war, when you don't compromise in this very important issue. And then I asked him, hey, how many dead and enslaved Libyans was Obamacare worth to you? And he didn't answer that because he can't. Because you know what? They don't actually care about foreign policy. They don't actually care about all the dead brown kids overseas. They don't actually care about all the orphan kids overseas that they created as a result of their foreign policy, as a result of them not caring. Because they don't actually care. They say they're the party of peace, but they're not. They're just as big warmongers as Republicans. They just disguise it in fancy words. While they go on slaughtering people overseas and not feeling an ounce of remorse about it. And what's more, claiming a moral high ground over libertarians who are consistently anti-slaughtering foreigners. But yeah, Democrats have the moral high ground on us. I guess you got us there, Democrats. Good job.
Absolutely
I'm all done.
unreal. Yeah, I've been done for a few minutes. I got work at 5:30, so I'm only having a couple.
It's freaking ridiculous the way these people act. You know, they claim to have moral superiority, claim to be standing on the high ground, while their body count is as big as anyone's. And then they have the gall to say, oh, it's easy to be anti-war when you're not in power. I'm like, you know what? This kind of makes my point for me. Because you're essentially admitting that your preferred politicians are a bunch of lying, hypocritical warmongers. Your preferred guys, the guys that you think are the best qualified for the job, kind of makes the case for why these people shouldn't have any power to begin with, doesn't it? Kind of makes a libertarian case for me.
Yep.
Absolutely does.
Unfortunately, if we can segue into our last topic, considering we only have about 10 minutes left, if the big tech people have their way, which was recently exposed by the good people at Project Veritas, libertarians, Republicans, and even moderate center-left Democrats will not have a snowball's chance in hell of ever winning an election ever again. I, of course, am talking about Google and their far-left social justice bias and the attempts to meddle in the upcoming 2020 election and supposedly every election heretofore since.
Yeah. I watched it. Yeah, there's this Project Veritas video, and you know what? I don't think we have time to go into all the details of it, but we will post a link to the video on our Facebook page for all you guys to watch. And essentially, here's what's going on in Google. So this guy that works at Google went to Project Veritas. You'll remember them as the guys who exposed Planned Parenthood for selling the body parts of aborted fetuses. So he went to these guys and he said, hey, I have this document and I know I've talked to Google execs, and it essentially proves that Google is not a neutral dispenser of information. You know, you type something into Google, you expect to get just the facts, please, because that's what I'm looking for. You know, I make a Google search because I'm looking for information, not because I'm expecting to be preached to by someone with an ideological perspective that they are pushing onto me. It turns out that that's exactly what Google is doing. They have an ideological perspective. They have an agenda that they want to push, and they're using their platform, which is expected to be an objective, non-biased dispenser of information. They're using that platform to push a political narrative instead in order to affect their desired outcome in upcoming elections. To put it in the way that they said in the video, to prevent another Donald Trump situation from happening, essentially.
Yeah, literally. That's the whole crux of their argument. They saw what happened in 2016, and according to the whistleblower that came out of Google prior to the 2016 elections, the emphasis at Google was free speech, free expression, letting people just do and say whatever they want. And then when all of the media pundits and everything was proven completely wrong, that Hillary's 96-98% chance of winning was total and complete bullshit, then they did just this complete course correction. They're like, oh no, we can't let something like this happen again. So they started changing the search algorithms. They started deleting the auto completes. Like you type, Clinton body into Google, and it used to be Clinton body count. because that was the story that people would search the most, and that's what the algorithm would then push into autocomplete. Well, they just started wiping things like that, or like Hillary's emails that doesn't show up on the autocomplete anymore, and just like weird shit that nobody searches for is popping up at the top of the search or in autocomplete, or they're gaming it, like in the video. James O'Keefe goes into Google and he types in "women can," and it's like women can vote, women can do it, women can do anything, and it's like all these like feminist, whatever, and then he goes in and types in "men can," and it's like get pregnant or like all of this bizarre shit that nobody thinks of. They're
Yeah, it is like get pregnant, have periods.
yeah.
They're like,
It's like they're
who is Googling that? It turns out
Nobody.
nobody's Googling that.
Exactly.
It's just that's what they want you to see.
Yeah, they're pushing their social justice narrative to the fore in order to it's psychological conditioning 101. It's the basest form of psychological conditioning. Herd mentality. If you think that everybody is searching for men can have periods and get pregnant and women can do anything, then it's like, oh well, this is the popular opinion, and so maybe I should go along with this and other things within this ideological sphere. And that sort of behavior from a search engine, which is supposed to be just objective fact. I want to search for used car parts in my zip code. I should get used car parts in my zip code, not whatever. You understand what I'm saying. I hope everybody else understands what I'm saying out there too. I shouldn't get something about like transgender lesbian basket weaving in my zip code or some crazy shit like that. If I want used car parts, I want used car parts. But they're pushing these things into the algorithm in order to condition people to shift them leftward and to frame the narrative in this country so something like a Donald Trump never happens again. And what they're doing is, one, they're instigating the Streisand effect, where more people are now, well, if Google wants me to see this and doesn't want me to see this, I really want to see this. And the other thing that they're doing is that they're pushing the Overton window so far to the left to people who don't have that sort of ideological curiosity that if you want to, and this is going to be my not libertarian moment of the night, but if you want to pull that whole, it's a private company and they can do whatever they want. Google has a 90% near monopoly on all search traffic in the world. And if you think with that kind of market reach that their framing of the narrative isn't going to make it so that libertarians, Republicans, and even moderate center-left Democrats will ever have a shot at getting any kind of political traction ever again, if this continues without any kind of pushback now, then I'm sorry you're living in fantasy land.
There was something very interesting said in that video, and we posted it in the comments for this video, also posted it to the main page. Something very interesting said. It was the woman that was being interviewed, you remember, and she was talking about Elizabeth Warren calling for the breakup of Google, and she was saying, you know what, they want to break up Google. I think it's a mistake, because if you break it up in all these little companies, they don't have the resources and ability to control this narrative the way we are. We're a big company. We have big resources. We can do that. We have the ability to control the narrative. And if you break us up, then there's going to be no control anymore. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? A democratic policy meant to combat big business, but all the big business they're combating wants to do is help them win elections.
Right.
It's this weird marriage of progressive ideology and big business.
Right, and that's the thing that I think kind of goes over the head of a lot of libertarians is that at the heart of libertarian theory, as far as this business and transaction sort of thing goes, is that market incentives and the profit motive is the be all end all of the decisions that businesses are going to make. However, when you're taking a look at these huge near monopolies like Google and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, they seem to have got out there on false pretenses to suck everybody in to this monopoly. And now that they have us all trapped, then they turn the screws into this far left socialist ideology. And that is like that's that sort of insidious 4D chess that the Trumpers always say that Donald Trump is engaged in, but that is happening on the tech left side more than anything, and we can see that happening in real time with basically what I just said there. You got all these near monopoly companies, and they threw out a business model. It was like, come to Facebook. Don't worry about having your own website anymore. Come to Twitter. Come to Google for all of your searching needs. And they grew bigger and bigger, and they started buying up the competition. And sooner or later, everybody goes to Google. Everybody uses Chrome. Everybody uses either iPhone or Android. Everybody has Facebook. Everybody has a Twitter. And in spite of the best efforts of companies like Gab and BitChute and Minds and all these other smaller platforms trying to come up and actually act in a true neutral free speech platform manner, I want to support those companies as best I can, but I always find myself going back to Facebook and YouTube for all of my social media needs. And I always have to kind of smack myself on the wrist and be like, no, get off of these sites. But every time I go to one of the others, the user interface is just hot trash. So they got us all in these little corralled pens and their little monopolies, and now that they have us trapped, they're just shrinking the pen in a little bit more. And as they shrink the pen in, they cull out the undesirables from the herd. Well, the problem is that once they kick them out of the herd, there's nowhere else for these people to go, and nobody else is going to be able to find them now. So this is going to have to be, so I know we're kind of pressed for time. This is going to have to be something maybe for next week's episode or something to dig down deep in here. But this whole era of big tech censorship is really putting my faith in the libertarian philosophy of the profit motive and the free market provides and everything. It's really putting my faith in that principle to the test. Is this something that government can come in and solve? Is this something that we're going to have to wait for the free market to eventually get around to fixing? Are we going to have to cut the cord and just go back to, phone calls and meeting each other face to face? And, what is the solution here? I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't pretend to have the answers. And I'm looking for anybody who does. So please get in touch with us. Maybe we'll interview you. I don't know.
I got all the answers, man, and I'm just not spilling the beans. All right, I think that's all we're up against for time. We've been talking for an hour here. Anything else you want to say before we say goodnight to all these fine folks?
No, I'm ready to go brush my teeth and go to bed. I've got an early morning.
No, I do too, man. I hear. All right. Before I let you go, remember, everyone, the website is roads2liberty.com. Ben has been putting a lot of effort into making that nice and pretty for you guys, so go check it out. We are on Facebook. We just passed 5,000 likes not too long ago, and we are growing exponentially. So get on that bandwagon. We are also our new Facebook group, the Roadkill Cafe, is just opened up for business, and it's a lot of fun so far, so go check that out. We're also on Instagram. We're on Minds. We're on Twitter, though I never post on Twitter, so it's probably not the best place to go to see our content. We are everywhere that you can find podcasts, essentially. I have not found a podcasting app that we have not been on so far, so get on that. Listen to the podcast. Check us out on social media. I'm Token, and that's my buddy Hobbs with the Road to Liberty podcast. Y'all have a good night.
Good night.